Welcome to Relative Insights. Our mission is for all people to access transformational and educational resources in the field of mental health and emotional wellness. Doris and Jennifer discuss current issues and approaches to living a life of hope and fulfillment. This podcast is not a replacement for therapy. The conversations, guests, tips discussed are provided as educational, thought-provoking, and inspiring. Our opinions are not specific therapeutic advice. Views expressed are our own personal perspectives and experiences. Information heard here is to be used at your caution and discretion. As always, please seek out individual mental health care to best serve you.
Yes, it's been a while. Hi, Cuz.
Hello, Doris.
You ready for another episode?
let's just jump right into it, especially since we have a special guest.
Yes, we have a guest today. This is super awesome. Our first guest ever on our podcast. Hi, Hack.
Hey, first guest ever. Ooh, I feel special now.
You should. We don't take just any guest.
You literally found me on the side of the road 5 minutes ago.
Right? You said you were going to say that on air. How are you feeling tonight, lady?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Good. I'm so glad you could join us tonight. Just to let everybody know that today's podcast, we're going to be talking about divorce trauma as it relates to being married to a narcissist. And, you know, I'll say this, right? Like, there's a lot of information and misinformation out there right now about narcissists. I cannot tell you how many people come to me and they're like, my boyfriend's a narcissist. He did this or he did that. And I'm like, well, they may have traits of a narcissist, but they don't necessarily meet the criteria of, having narcissistic personality disorder. However, still someone who is, exhibiting traits of a narcissist, it still can, have the same traumatic effect on you, whether or not they have the diagnosis or not. But I will let everyone out there know that as far as what and who a narcissist is, it is someone who is extremely self-involved to the degree that they basically ignore the needs of anyone and everyone around them, whether it's their partner, whether it's other family members, whether it's their kids. And they also don't really have a lot of self-awareness. Like, they don't have an understanding of the effect that their behavior has on other people. According to the DSM-5, which we're not going to go into the specific characteristics that, meet the diagnosis, we will just say that, they tend to show a pattern of grandiosity, a need for admiration, and a lack of empathy. Now, I also want to talk a little bit about narcissistic abuse. It is something that is, very prevalent in relationships, that involve someone who is seeing someone with narcissistic traits, right? So narcissistic abuse is typically a type of emotional abuse, and I will reiterate, it's an emotional abuse. And what that means is that you're not going to have, bruises, marks on yourself. Nobody's going to be able to tell that you've experienced abuse that is emotional, because it takes a toll on your mental health, right? On your brain, on your feelings, on your emotions, right? So, emotional abuse is something that some people aren't even aware that they're experiencing. And other people definitely can't tell that you're experiencing, but it is a real and true trauma. I'm going to throw that out there. But it basically comes when the abuser only cares about themselves. So they may use words and actions to manipulate their partners and their emotional state. So you may see things like, I will say love bombing. Now, that may seem like, oh my gosh, that's not a bad thing. Like, it feels good. But I was telling a client like the other day that I kind of liken love bombing to like grooming. You know how, a lot of abusers who abuse children, they groom them. They give them gifts. They tell them how awesome they are. They try to say things and do things that get them away from other people. Like, that is a narcissist type of grooming. They will tell you you are the best thing in the world. You are amazing. Even if they just met you. They're like, you are just the most incredible thing in the world. They want to spend their life with you. But it's love bombing, and it switches off just as quickly as it switches on. You have financial abuse where they basically have to have control, utter control over the money. And at the time it may feel like, okay, cool, I don't have to deal with the finances, you have at it, whatever, but it's their way of controlling you to make sure that you're not going anywhere. So they may throw you a bone here and there, to keep you appeased. But it is abuse. It is emotional abuse. It takes its toll on you because eventually you just feel like I don't have any say-so in anything that involves money in our relationship at all, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Money is power. I was going to say financial abuse really leaves somebody with a sense of powerlessness where they can't make decisions. They can't do anything without asking permission. That's really almost putting you in this position of being captive to your partner.
Yes, absolutely. And you know how they talk about like they kind of manipulate you with like their words. I can't tell you how many times I hear like, someone say, oh, well, they told me that like they're the only person that will ever love me. They're the only person that will ever take care of me, that nobody else wants me. They find ways to pull you away from your support system because they know that your support system is going to open your eyes to their tactics, so they need to put a wall around you. And, obviously financial is another way to do that. Like if you don't have money to go see your family and your friends, and then they say like, oh, well, your family's this or your friends are that. So I'd rather them not come over to the house. I'd rather them not be here. Like they find so many ways to just isolate you, and they, find ways to tear your self-esteem down, your self-worth. Making snide remarks about your weight or your attractiveness or, what you're wearing, like anything that slowly breaks you down. And at the time, it feels like, oh, they just care about me. Like they just want me to look good or they just, want to help me better myself or, to lose weight so I can look better for me, not for them. We find ways to just constantly tell ourselves that like what's going on around us is not really what's going on. Does that make sense?
It's kind of hard too. And I think what makes it so confusing is you have love bombing on one side, and then there are just these snide put downs.
Mm-hmm.
And at first it just sounds like, oh, it's just a joke. Or maybe you just have that joking way of, giving each other a hard time, but it just wears on the person. Like the narcissist will continue to find things wrong with the other person so that they're feeling like they're walking on eggshells.
That's actually a good way of putting it too, because you really do start to feel like you're walking on eggshells. Like, because in the beginning, because it feels so good with the love bombing, you're constantly always waiting for that to come back. It's like, I know this person is capable of it, But, they're just not doing it now because I'm doing this or I'm doing that or I'm wrong by doing this. If I just do all the things that they want me to do, we'll get back to that love bombing where they thought I was the most incredible person on the face of this earth, where they told me I was just amazing. I was so intelligent. I'm, this or that, and we just tell ourselves this over and over again, but it never comes back. It never comes back. And I will reiterate, a narcissist does not understand empathy. They don't know how to empathize because they cannot see outside of themselves. Empathy is very much so just that. Our ability to put ourselves in someone else's shoes, to understand what they're going through, their feelings, and narcissists don't have the ability to put themselves outside of themselves because the world revolves around them.
Yeah, and I think we said this earlier before we started recording that even though we're talking about narcissists, like we all have these qualities. Mm-hmm. Children might have these qualities of being self-centered. We all have stages where we might feel focused and not feel very empathetic or not always be in the position where we want to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes. But this type of severe abuse is cyclical. It is constant throughout a relationship.
Exactly.
So
it is all the time. A regular person, yeah, they may have times where they don't want to look outside themselves and they don't want to empathize with other people, but that doesn't necessarily mean they don't have the capability. Yeah. Now, today, we're talking about divorcing someone who has narcissistic traits, right? And I'm just going to say this, and I'm going to say it now. Divorcing someone with narcissistic traits is one of the hardest I'm just gonna say it is a trauma. It is one of the hardest things you will ever have to go through. It is something I wish on absolutely no one. It is something I've experienced. It is something that our guest has experienced. It's something that I've talked to. I've had numerous, clients. I have a client right now who is going through, just starting the process. And, and it's like you want to try to just, you just want to hold them close and just say, it's going to be okay. You're going to get through this. But it's so hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel when you're going through it, especially when you're experiencing a divorce that lasts years. Because when you're dealing with a narcissist, they will try to drag it out as long as they possibly can. And I'm going to talk later on about, some rules to, live by when you're trying to divorce a narcissist, because it is not the same.
I wanted to jump in and ask you a question about divorcing a narcissist, actually, because when I just did a brief Google search, the number one rule was don't ever think that your divorce is going to be amicable or courteous or, civil. And I was curious about your experience, and I don't know about you. What was your experience in separating from a narcissist? Is it possible, or is that true? Is it possible to be friendly?
No, because it starts out with a lot of guilt trips, and you abandoned me, and you abandoned the kids, and you left us with no money for food, and making you out to be the most horrible person that ever walked the face of the earth because you left, even though you left to literally save yourself from that person. Physically, mentally, emotionally.
Absolutely.
So, it was hard. And then, I lost a parent in the middle of it. And, she was like, well, I tried to be there for you, but you didn't want me. So then she was adding more guilt on top of that. And I was just like, I just lost a parent and you want to add more on top of me while I'm dealing with this. Like, it was just, it gets to the point where it's just a pile on of everything under the sun becomes your fault. And you're the reason why everything is wrong in that person's life.
Yep.
It's interesting what you said, and something that stuck with me, how you were losing a parent and then your partner was like, I tried to be there for you and you wouldn't let me in. And so it's almost like even in that phrase, they're making themselves out to be this wonderful person who's trying to take care of you, and you're just the difficult person
This
that's
is pushing them away for no reason.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you just made a really good point there. Because, as Hat was talking, I'm like, yes, they always have to play the victim. Always.
Constantly.
Always. But at the same time, they have to come out on top. Like they are the best thing since sliced bread. You know what I mean? So when you say amicable, friendly, it makes me chuckle, because I'm just like, I think I remember, like, when we first started out, I was like, man, we can do this. Like, this can be okay. Like, we can be amicable. He's saying we can be amicable. Like, this is gonna be good. Every time, every single time, the same with Hat. Like, you're abandoning your family, you're tearing your family apart. Think of what you're doing to your boys. This is on you. This is on you. Never responsibility for anything that they do. Never responsibility for how you got there. It just also be prepared. Like, as much as your partner is probably saying to you, oh, like this, we can do this. They're saying what they think you want to hear. Because at the end of the day, until things really start rolling, the ball starts rolling on the legal side, they still think they can find ways to manipulate you to change your mind.
Yep.
So they're pretend like they're going along with it. It's going to be amicable. Then when they really see that you're serious about it, then it just switches. You are the devil.
Yep.
You are ruining their life, your children's lives. They will say some of the most cruelest. I had my client the other day said that her ex said, called her in front of her kids, called her a bitch, called her a slut, called her a money grubbing whore in front of her kids because she's asking for child support. And again, she heard, some similar things during the marriage, because they do tend to come at you with verbal abuse. I don't know, Hack, did you experience any verbal abuse from your ex?
Verbal and physical.
Yes.
And emotional.
Like another way of them controlling, right? Do you mind if I kind of focus in on you for a minute, Hack, and just kind of ask you, like, how you met your ex, like how you would describe that relationship when you were dating?
I mean, we met on a dating app, and I guess it's pretty much how you meet people nowadays is you meet on a dating app, you text for a while, eventually you go out, you meet, and she seemed like this amazing person and this wonderful person, and I felt great about us. I felt great about the relationship. I thought she would never hurt me. I thought, like, this is it. Like, this is what I've been waiting for. I found the one. Like, this is going to be amazing. And I proposed. We got married. And short time after getting married, it was like all of a sudden the script got flipped. And the love bombing went away. And then it turned into something else. And it wasn't all overnight. It just gradually got worse and gradually got worse and gradually got worse. And it got to the point where it was emotional manipulation. I wasn't good enough because of X, Y, or Z. I didn't keep the house clean enough. I didn't fix dinner on time. I didn't take care of the dogs like I should have. Maybe even though I'm disabled, I should have gone out and got a job to support my family because that's what people do to take care of their families. And it's all of a sudden nothing's good enough, nothing's right, everything you do is wrong, everything you say is wrong. Eventually, I was being pushed into corners and threatened and told that if I tried to defend myself or protect myself, that she would call the police and say that I hit her and the kids would back her up because that's their mom. I was locked in my room with my phone taken away, my iPad taken away, even my cigarettes taken away just to have control. And it got to the point where it was really, really bad. There was a night that I thought that she was going to kill me because I was suffocating and I couldn't breathe and I was seeing stars and I kept saying I couldn't breathe. And she made a nasty comment about this is how I sit on you when we do other things and it should be fine and you're just lying. And literally I felt like I was passing out. And it took everything just to get out of that situation and go to bed and let everything diffuse. And then wait for her to go to work the next day before I grabbed some stuff and got the hell out of there. And then I was stupid and took her back and stayed for another couple months until I realized I was being stupid and finally left for the last time.
Had you ever heard of a narcissist before or had any understanding of what a narcissist was before you met
Not
her?
really, no. I've heard of it, but I didn't really realize and understand what it meant until I went through that.
What happened, if you don't mind, what made you want to take her back? What was happening at that point?
I mean, we had been talking. She was promising to get help. She was promising that things were going to get better. She was promising that she was never going to put her hands on me again. And things had just gotten out of control and we needed to reset. And if I came home, everything would be fine and everything would be okay.
I have heard from other people who have left a narcissist that the emotional abuse they had been able to take, the put downs, the control were things that were uncomfortable, that they were able to get through it. But then once they crossed the line with physical violence, that was kind of when they're like, oh no, I need to make a plan. And I need to make a plan to leave. Was that your experience or was it different?
I mean, like I said, I was so terrified the night of the physical violence when it got really bad that I waited for things to cool off and I left the next morning and I stayed gone for months. Like I didn't come right back, and I was gone for probably 2 months, 2.5 months before I decided to come back. And I gave in to all the promises and all the, I love you. This is going to work. It's never going to be like that again. I swear, I promise. Yeah. Like I let myself believe it. And then
Go on. I was going to say, how did the abuse affect your life? What were some things that you were noticing at that time?
I mean, I felt like at times like I was a prisoner in my own home. I felt like I couldn't talk about it because she would turn it around on everybody else. See, the thing is that she's such a good liar and is such a good manipulator that she had people that I had known for years, many, many, many years before her, believing that I was abusing pain medication and that I was lying and that I was doing all these things and that I had changed. And she had people turning on me. It was like she had to take everybody away from me and bring them over to her side, or else she wasn't happy. And then
Mm-hmm.
once the truth started coming out about everything, and people really started seeing what was going on, I had people come back to me and apologize
Mm-hmm. Well,
because
she had to isolate you, like she had to strip you of
well, I
everything.
didn't understand that at the time. And she wasn't happy until she tried to pull every single person away from me and get them to her side and be in it and play like she was the innocent victim in all of it. Constantly the
Mm-hmm.
innocent victim, like she never did nothing
Mm-hmm.
wrong.
I feel like that's one of the most frustrating. Just there's lots of frustrating pieces of the divorce, but that's one of the most frustrating pieces is how they are such amazing master manipulators that people around you are just like, well, she must be exaggerating because I, I think they're amazing. That their relationship is beautiful, and like, how dare they? Like, it must be your fault. They're so quick. Whether it's family, whether it's friends, it's almost like you're having to plead your case with people that you thought knew you, loved you. I mean, I feel
Exactly.
like this is a really good point to address because, you know, one thing I tell my clients all the time is build a tribe. When you are going through this divorce, build a tribe outside of the people that are your family, your friends that know your ex. Because they're going to feel torn, they're going to be manipulated. Build a tribe outside of them that you know are going to be non-judgmental, that are going to be supportive, because one thing that keeps you from just going absolutely bonkers during the whole process is having support, because that person will try to isolate you and strip you down to your bare bones. And if you feel like that's it, that you have absolutely nothing, that's when those feelings of hopelessness come in and you just feel like, what's the point? Here I am fighting for my life, trying to get away from this, and I can't. You just feel so hopeless. Like, what's the point of even going on? So build a tribe, please.
She even tried to convince people that I had done the R word to her.
See, this is what I mean. Like, and you think that nobody would believe them. Like, people know me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they wouldn't believe that person over me. Absolute people. I'm sorry, but like, we're all human.
Yeah.
And just like we could be manipulated by our narcissistic exes, so can the people around us.
It's,
Like I said, they are masters at manipulation. Masters. I did want to ask you though, like, because we will kind of talk a little bit about the court system just slightly, but like I wanted to ask you, like, when you were going through your divorce, did you feel like the court system, like your lawyer, the judge, like, did you feel like they understood narcissistic abuse, that they took it seriously? Like, did you feel supported?
I had to do it all on my own. I did the paperwork on my
Wow.
own. I paid the fee on my own. I filed it on my own. I filed the motions on my own. Now, I did have
Wow.
a sister who understood how to read legal documents and legal contracts and things
Mhm.
like that because it's her job to know how to do those things. So she did help me.
Mhm.
She helped me fill out the paperwork. She told me where to, put this and put that. But everything I did it completely on my own.
Oh, wow. Did she fight you?
Um, over stupid stuff, but
Mm.
it wouldn't. She would not sign it until it was exactly how she wanted it to read, and then
Mm.
it took forever to pin her down. Like she was like, it was like she wanted exactly this many days to move out of the house, this many days to clean the house, all these extra steps, and she wouldn't sign it until it was exactly read, exactly how she wanted it to read. And then we met and then we signed it. And then she was like 2 days later, oh, I'm moving out. You can have the house back on Monday. And no, I'm not cleaning it. And it was
Mm.
completely trashed when I walked back into it.
Wow, I had no idea you had to do it on your own. Like, so you did not have anyone advocating for you in the legal
No.
system. Like, it was just all on
Yep.
you.
I did everything myself.
Did you have any backlash with the judge or anything?
No. I think that it was probably fortunate at the time that at this point I just wanted to get it the hell over with. Like, I was just
Yes.
done. And we were in the middle of COVID when all of this happened. So the judge was just
Mm.
basically reviewing it, signing it, and passing it on
Mm-hmm.
like a conveyor belt. So I
Mm-hmm.
did. Once I got everything filed properly, like I had to go back and refile certain things because I didn't do it right. But once I gave them everything they asked for, they signed it. It was done. It was over with. There was like we weren't even on a Zoom call. It was just signed and emailed to me, and it was done. I printed it off and cried
Mm.
because it was finally over.
Did it feel like it was truly over at that moment?
Um, it yeah, I felt like it was. I was still worried about the house situation, but once I had the paper and once she was out of the house, then it was truly like, wow, they're really it's done. It's over.
Mm.
I could move on with my life.
Mm.
So it was a relief. And we don't speak. Nope,
No?
not at all.
I hate to say this, but that's a beautiful thing. Like, I tell my clients, the ones who don't have children with their exes, like, complete and utter cutoff is the best way to go. But when you have kids together, that's
All the
impossible,
kids are over
obviously.
18 now, and I can talk to them individually. And
Mm.
only one of them I talk to on a regular basis. So,
Mm.
and he doesn't live in the home with her anymore. He's kind of seen the writing on the wall.
Good. Don't you love it when other people finally,
Well,
finally?
months later, him and I sat down and had a heart to heart over text message because that's the easiest way to talk to him, like really talk to him. And he opened up about a lot of things, and he admitted that he said that he called her a narcissist to her face.
Mm.
And he admitted that he saw a lot of it, and that I apologized for my things. He apologized for his things. We wiped the slate clean, and we have a great relationship now. We talk on a pretty regular basis. He's a young guy in his 20s, and he's working a lot. But, I got a text from him today that said, I love you. Sorry I'm bad about texting. I've been working a lot. But I just say, I love you too, son, and I understand. And when can I take you out to dinner? Like, we're good.
Mm.
So,
What do you think has helped you heal the most after the divorce? What resources have you called upon?
my biggest support through the entire thing is my mom. I've lived with my mom. Like, when I left, I went to my mom, and I've been with my mom ever since. And she's been my biggest support and my biggest ally through it all. I would say my sisters, my family really gathering around, having my back. People have, started coming back and saying that they figured it out and they saw that like they saw through it, and I didn't really have to say a whole lot about it. Like, people started figuring things out on their own because she would start doing them wrong. And, I hate to say this, but TikTok is like one of the greatest resources out there because there's so many people that have been through
Yes.
this, and they talk about their
Yes.
experiences, and they talk about um, the things that they have been through and what the traits are and what to look out for.
Mhm.
And I think, I started realizing what a narcissist was, and then I got on TikTok, and then I really figured out what a narcissist was. Because
Mhm.
there's so many videos, just person after person after person sharing their stories, sharing their experiences, sharing what the traits are, sharing what to look out for. And even when you guys were talking in the beginning of the introduction of this podcast, I started thinking about a couple other relationships that I've had that had some of those traits, and I didn't even realize until Dee was talking about it in the beginning.
Mhm.
Like, oh my gosh. It pulled a
Yep.
couple of people right up to the forefront of my mind, like I didn't even realize. So
Yep.
it's constantly
That's what
learning.
that is why, like, I like when well, the number one reason why we wanted to do this podcast was, putting this out there more and more and more, because I feel like if the more we know, the better we can protect ourselves, right? And the more we can like empower ourselves. And I like my clients, they're always like, like, well, TikTok is one of my. So I'm like, get on TikTok. There's a lot of good stuff out there on TikTok. There really truly is. And I think one of my clients was saying like there was like a mental health TikTok. I'm like, beautiful, because we need to humanize this. We need to see faces and hear voices and to know like other people have experienced this, and this is what it looks like. This is how I can protect myself in the future. This is much needed. So heck yeah, I'm like, TikTok
There
away.
are some
Take it
amazing people on TikTok. I have met a best friend
easy.
on there. There was one gentleman, he's called Badass Counseling on TikTok. Amazing guy.
Really? Let me write that down.
Amazing guy.
See, we shouting you out, badass counselor.
Thank you.
Go.
This episode of Relative Insights has been brought to you by TikTok. Healing, healing,
I
healing the
know.
world, one clip at a time. All right, I'm looking up badass counseling right now.
He's amazing, man. He's awesome.
What is this badass counseling thing? What? But I did want to go through how narcissistic abuse affects people, and if you have time, have to kind of stick around a little bit longer, because I want to ask you if you experienced any of these. So, a lot of people who experience narcissistic abuse end up experiencing quite a lot of anxiety. Some have separation anxiety. Oh, I do want to throw this out. And I'm not going to give you a specific online like website to go to, because there's so many out there. But one thing that's really beneficial to know is like, being in a narcissistic abusive relationship can change our attachment style. So go to Google, type in attachment style quiz, take a quiz, see where you are, because more times than not, you'll see a lot of like people who are now anxious, preoccupied, or have developed anxious attachment style just from being in that one relationship. Because I know a lot of people feel like, oh, attachment styles are formed just from your foundation, just from, your development growing up. But it can also be completely and utterly like changed just from having a relationship with a narcissist. So take time, Google it. Google attachment style quiz. There's like one, I think, from personaldevelopment.com or something that's really good. Take the quiz, see where you are, and then just kind of go from there. But okay, back to the so anxiety. You will some people experience depression, some people experience post-traumatic stress. Some people experience an intense loss of sense of self and self-worth. That is one that I see over and over again, is the depression, the anxiety, and the loss of sense of self and self-worth. Because, a person with narcissistic traits, their whole MO is to break you down, right? Like, that's how they keep you around. They have to break your self-worth and your self-esteem down. So once you're out of that relationship, it's like you almost feel like you've lost yourself, and now you're trying to figure out who you are again, what you want, So yes, we're gonna say
I've gone through quite a bit of that. I did have to go on some medication for the anxiety and depression mixed in together, and then going through all of that, I lost my dad, who I was very, very close to, and I didn't get out of bed for 4 months. But I didn't realize the level of shutdown I was until 4 months later. And then I started realizing, okay, I need to move. Like, I need to start moving through this. I need to start working through this. I need to start getting the paperwork processed. I need to start, then I started setting goals. Like, okay, I have to move. I have to do things. Like, nobody's coming to save you. You've got to pull yourself out of this crap by the bootstraps and get back up and start making steps and start making progress. And when I started making steps and when I started making progress, like each little baby step, more and more and more, I slowly started coming out of it because I worked my way through it instead of drinking it away or running away from it. Like, I had to face it, I had to work through it, and I had to move on from it. And it was hard and it took time, but I feel like I've come out on the other side of it much better. And I feel like now, a couple years later, I know what I'm looking for in a partner. I know what I'm not looking for in a partner. If somebody's trying to get too close too fast, no, I'm going to back up. Like, I don't need people like I used to need people. I don't need love like I used to need love. I don't need approval, or I don't need to date or always have somebody, because I have to get that from myself. I have to get that from my friends and from my family, and realize when something doesn't feel right from jump, to not ignore the red flags and just walk away and be so much better for it down the road. But it's not easy. It's hard. It's always going to be something, and you always got to make time for yourself and prioritize yourself and get yourself grounded. For me, it's God. I get myself grounded in God. I get myself grounded in the Bible. I pray. I focus on my family. I focus on the things that are going on around me that I can affect in a positive way. And how can I love people and serve people from where I'm at, and not be so focused on me all the time? How can I give to others? And that's how I get through. That's how I cope. That's how I deal.
Damn it,
That's beautiful.
Damn you. I'm sitting over here like,
D, it's not a competition. D, it's not a competition.
Over here, and I'm like, shoot, ain't no nothing. I'm good. I'm good. This podcast ain't nothing gonna break me down. You start talking about picking yourself up. It was when you said no one's coming to save you. That broke me down, because it took me so long. It's like so much time to recognize that I had to do it for me. As much as I talk to my friends, as much as I talk to my family, no one's gonna know what I'm going through. They're not gonna feel what I'm going through. They can say all the things, but it's me. I have to pull myself through this. I have to get up. Like, my kids aren't going to come in here and be like, oh, mom's depressed because she was in a narcissistic abusive relationship and this divorce is horribly destroying her. She's not going to make us breakfast this morning. Like, no, like, you got to get up. You have to take care of your kids. You still have to take care of yourself. It's like, as much as anyone else can say, oh, it's going to be okay and all this stuff, you have to truly tell yourself that yourself. You have to build up because, again, just like I said before, they strip you. They completely strip you bare. So you have to build yourself back up. You have to tell yourself you're worth it. You have to tell yourself that, like, you deserve contentment. You deserve happiness. And that, like, you're not going to get there by turning over onto your pillow and pulling the covers over your head, even though it feels so good. Even if you just want to stay there, you got to pick yourself back up. And I tell my clients all the time, like, part of picking yourself up is going to therapy. Like, yeah, you're leaning on someone else for support, but that is picking yourself up. That shows a lot of, like, strength and determination that you don't want to be stuck. You no longer want to be stuck. You know what I mean? And, like, I will say, I can't tell you how many people are like, wait, therapists get depressed? Therapists go through trauma? Yes, we do. Well, we're going to yell it in the mic. Yes, we do. We get depressed, but we also know we're our biggest, supporters of, like, advocating and telling ourselves the same thing we tell our clients. Go get help. Go see a therapist. Talk to someone. Don't sit there and try to therapize yourself. Don't sit there and think, I'm a therapist, so, I can get through this on my own. I don't need anyone. No. Remember the same things that I'm speaking to all you therapists out there that could possibly be going through the same thing. Don't
help yourself, therapists.
Yes, don't try to do it on your own. I'm here to tell you, it don't work. I promise you. Talk to someone. Build a tribe, see a therapist, do the reading. That's something that helped me immensely, was like, yes, I love the TikTok, but it was the readings, like getting on Google and, like, reading other people's stories of how they made it through and what they did and, how they helped to, get just the divorce process itself, like, get through that so that they could start to heal from the narcissistic abuse afterwards. It was so necessary. And I'm getting so off topic. So let me just finish.
Wait, hold on. I have a question that's burning in my head that we haven't addressed. Can you talk about what it's like with children? Because, Hack was talking about her experiences and her friends could come and, kind of saw through it. How about with young children? What does that look like? Because it feels like it's a battle or a war for control and loyalty from children.
Oh, man. See, if you get me started on this, I can talk about this for hours, but I will just say this. It is, oh God, that was one of the hardest parts, because it's like, in your mind, you see their father. You know who he is. You know what he's done. But it's like, it was so difficult for me because I had to shut my mouth, and still do every day. I'm like, your dad, is so amazing. And, don't you have such a good father? He cares about you so much. And every time I have to say it, a piece of my soul dies. Just be like, ah. But I know that it's necessary. I know that at the end of the day, that I want my kids to grow up knowing that they had two parents who absolutely loved and adored them. And it doesn't matter what I feel about that other person. It doesn't. All that matters is how that person treats them. And the minute I see anything not so whatever, I'm, obviously I'm jumping in. But it is really difficult, like, just trying
Do you
Hmm?
feel like they offer the same respect where they sing your praises to the kids and say your mom is amazing and loves you?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
But, like I said, like, I want to be better than, I don't want to be toxic. I don't want to, because and I will be honest, like it took a minute. Like I never did badmouth him, but it did take a minute in the beginning because he would come in with that woe is me, I'm the victim of everything, and say in front of the kids, this is all your fault, and you did this, and I think if like one of the kids had an issue or something, like he'd be like, you're the reason why he's having that issue because blah blah blah, and like in front of the kids, and it took me a while to really get him to understand that like you're hurting them every single time, because again, they don't have any empathy. They can't see outside of themselves. They just know what they want. So I realize he's not going to see this, but if I don't engage in it, then nothing goes further. So whenever it would start, I would just walk away, and I'd be like, he's doing that thing, I'm not going to feed into it, and he can only talk to himself, if I don't talk back, and just walk away. And now, like I will say, we are co-parenting. I say it's amazing because of me. My kids are completely oblivious to it all. They look at us and they're like we go to dinners together, we hang, do things as a family together, and I just bite my tongue and I say positive, and like I said, I focus on me and doing what I know that needs to be done for my kids, and I smile in his face. And narcissists, you have to, like, they're the type of people where if you're constantly building them up, if you're bringing the conversation back about them, like, they eat it up, and that's what I know to do.
Oh, dude, that, like Hack said, like, this conversation has brought all sorts of people to the forefront of my mind, and yeah, I straight did that with someone who was giving me a hard time for not being present for them and not being available. And like, what? I guess it's good I have other friends. And I'm like, well, you're so resourceful. You're the most resourceful person I know. And there is no defense to that.
I'm telling you, they eat it up. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. Like, when he comes over, I'm like, hey, how are you? Oh, God, my job, everything sucks. There's so much on me. They just can't do anything without me. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They really can't do anything without you. I don't know how they manage without you.
You are the most special, unique person ever.
You gotta learn how to play the game, because if you have to continuously be involved in that, they have to be in your life, you have to be in their life, you have to figure out a way to maneuver. They're master manipulators. You can be too.
I love it.
It's all chess.
I love it.
It's chess, baby.
Game, set, match, bitch. Seriously. And then he comes to me now. He's like, you're the only person that listens to me. You're the only person that cares. I'm you better. Yeah, boy. And then when the conversation's over, I go right back to doing me, because I know, like, that's what I have to do until that last one is 18 years old. And then we no longer have to converse. And it's a sad truth, but what would you rather have? Constant toxicity, arguments in front of your kids, where your kids are growing up in very toxic, negative, environment where they're constantly feeling like they're pit between both parents. Like, now that's traumatic for the kid. Why put more trauma out there? You've already experienced yours. You're healing from yours, And let me just say this one thing. So let me just throw out what else. So also, in addition to loss of sense of self, you also start to feel this inability to forgive yourself. And what I mean by that is, like, you have a lot of guilt and shame mixed up in there. You're like, how did I not see it? How did I not know? How could I not have known? Like, they were doing this or that. Like, you start to beat yourself up. I heard you use the word stupid earlier, Hack, and it broke my heart, because I'm like, you weren't stupid. You weren't stupid for going back.
You were
And
giving them a second chance.
you loved someone who didn't understand and know how to love you. And you didn't want to give up. You didn't want to just walk away without fully and utterly trying, And so you did. And there's nothing stupid about that. You're a beautiful
Amen.
person to do that. But yes, we go through this inability to forgive ourselves. We have like difficulty sleeping. You have nightmares. One thing I experienced, which I had to look up because I didn't even realize, like cognitive issues with your memory. You start to experience like memory issues, memory loss, especially short term. And it's because of like this surge of like stress hormones that you experience when you're traumatized, and they affect the hippocampus region in your brain. We didn't know about this. I'm just gonna throw it out so everybody know about it. Like, it is a real and true thing that happens. And then also, some people experience like trust issues afterwards. Some people experience like some self-destructive habits. You're trying to like, I guess self cope, or you know what I mean, by either drinking, using drugs.
Can I say something?
Sleeping around.
When
Yes,
it comes
please.
to the memory issues, like that kind of resonates with me, because there would be certain conversations where I like know that I said this specific thing. Because I thought about it, I planned what I was going to say. I know I said this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Something, it could be anything. The sky is blue. They will come back and they will tell you that you never said that. You said the sky was purple. You never said, you're crazy. That never happened. They'll change conversations on you. They'll change things that they said on you. It's a constant barrage of, well, you don't remember this, right? And it like turns your brain into alphabet soup. Like you start second guessing yourself. And people listening to this might say, well, no, I can remember clearly what I said or what I did. Okay, well, think about this going on for 6 months. Think about this going on for a year or 2 years or 10 years or however long, where it just becomes accustomed to keep the peace, keep the peace, keep the peace. Okay, babe, whatever you say. Okay, babe, whatever you want. Okay, let me just walk on eggshells so that we can try to have a good day. Let me not mess up or do anything wrong so we can have a good day. Just keep the peace, keep the peace. Whatever you say, doesn't really matter. Am I being selfish for standing up for myself, for dying on this hill? And is it going to make things worse for me if I stand up for myself? What am I bringing on myself? Well, maybe I deserve to get locked in the room and all my stuff taken away because I wouldn't just talk to her. Well, I don't know what she wanted me to talk about. I would be more than happy to talk to her. Well, maybe it would be like our biggest trigger was like she wanted to talk. Just talk to me, just talk to me. And it would get to the point where things would start to escalate, and I would be like, you know what? Let me have a minute. Let me walk away. I'll calm down. You calm down. Everybody chill out for a minute. We'll come back and talk about it. No, you're a big old pussy if you run away. Oh, just run away like you always do. Here you go, running away again. Oh, here, let's cry like a little bitch. 'Cause you can't handle it. No, you're not running away from me this time. This time I'm going to make you stay and you're going to talk to me. Well, what do you want to talk about? No, you're going to... And like you become crazy in your head. Because there's no way that you can keep it all straight. Because it's just over and over. And one of the biggest things getting away and having time to sit and reflect was even to try to sort out what exactly happened, because it all becomes a big mush in your brain and you don't know which way is up. You don't know which way is down. Now you're starting to question the color of your own eyes because they said it was something else. So, walking away is really the best thing that you can do, and taking time for yourself to really try to work through it and realize that it's not you. It's not nothing wrong with you. Accept the things that you may have done wrong and forgive yourself, but at the end of the day, realize that it was them and you are not the reason why this marriage or relationship or whatever have you failed.
Exactly.
It's the person that's engaging in this behavior and is not willing to see it and not willing to get help.
Exactly.
After dealing with something like that, how do you get back to a place where you can trust yourself or even come back into contact with yourself and be like, I know who I am. I forgot. This is who I was.
It's a slow process. It's a long process. And it's a matter of, for me, it was a matter of starting to read the books that I like to read, starting to listen to the music that I like to listen to, just how I feel comfortable, going for a ride and just trying to enjoy the simple things of, okay, well, I'm not going to get in trouble if I go buy myself lunch and take myself out to eat. You know, I'm not going to get in trouble if I do this small thing for myself. And it was finding just the small things in life that I could do for myself to make me feel better and to have better days and to try to get away from things. And kind of step out of my own brain and not sit there and rehash it over and over and over and over again in my mind.
That's that stuck in that cycle piece where you just replay it in your head over and over and over again.
That's probably the worst thing you can do because it's so muddled by then, you're never going to get any answers. And the best way is to try to get to a place of acceptance and serenity, like the serenity prayer, and say it 1,000 times if you have to until you're able to believe it and let it go and start working on you. And that's the biggest thing, is rebuilding yourself, focusing on you, and building yourself back up. Counseling, therapy, friends, family, God, the Bible, Jesus, whatever it takes.
You're absolutely right. It starts, no one can see me pointing to myself, but it starts inside of you. It starts with you, right? I will say that, like, after you experience this, like, I want everybody to understand that even though you are absolutely, elated to be out of that relationship, to be moving forward with your life, you still have to understand that it was still a loss. So you are going to experience grief. You're going to be pissed off at yourself because you're experiencing grief over the loss of that relationship, because you're like, what? You should be happy. But, when it hit me, I was just like, what is going on? I talked to my therapist. I was like, why am I not happy? The papers are finally signed after 2.5 years of having to deal with this long ass divorce and finally getting done with this. Why am I sitting on my bed crying? Why am I so sad? And she was like, you're grieving. And I was like, no, people grieve when they lose their relationship and they didn't want to. I was like, I wanted to be done with this. And she was like, but it's still a loss. And I was like, you're absolutely right. It was still a loss. It was the loss of what I thought could be, which was, in my mind, a happy, healthy family with 3 boys, a mom and a dad who love each other, and that vision was completely gone now. And it was like you're grieving the loss of the fact that that's gone. But I want to just, make everyone aware that like it's okay to grieve. It's part of the process. Grieve the loss. Also, like, when you're healing, you're healing from heartbreak too. You're healing from gaslighting. You're healing from the possibly financial losses. There's a lot to heal from, but make sure that you're number one, recognizing and accepting your feelings, whether it's grief, depression, anger, anxiety, and telling yourself what I'm feeling is valid. Do not suppress it. Do not judge yourself for having those feelings, because it's all valid. Educate yourself as much as possible. Listen to podcasts, listen to TikToks. I'm serious. Read, do all you can to really educate yourself about, narcissistic traits. Because I will have to tell you that I see this more times than not with some clients, is that there is a cycle. They tend to go right back into other relationships with other people that have narcissistic traits, but because they don't recognize, because some narcissists have traits that are very covert, so you don't always see it. So educate yourself on covert narcissism, on overt narcissism. Like there's a lot of information out there. If you need to, join a support group. I personally, I like the idea, like I said earlier, building a tribe of support. People around you that love you, that will support you, that are going to be there for you. And then, not because I'm a therapist, but because I know it works, reach out to a therapist or a counselor or a coach, whomever, like a professional. Reach out, get help, talk, open up, let the walls down, and talk in a safe, non-judgmental space. And lastly, practice self-care, because
Which is what Hack was saying.
Mm-hmm.
One small thing for yourself,
Yes.
whether it's a walk, taking yourself out to eat,
Yes.
anything that brings you joy by yourself.
Mm-hmm. It's so important.
That's the beginning to reconnection.
And remember that self-care is subjective. One person may love massages and that helps them, and you may not want to be touched. Figure out what works for you. If it's taking a walk once a day, do that. If it's putting makeup on, do that. Whatever it is, make yourself and your mental health a priority. That is the only way that you're going to get through this healing process. And I'm off my soapbox.
If you want to go roller skating, I want to go roller skating. That'll bring me joy.
Then do it.
something that I did as a kid.
Exactly. Like, you know what though? I tell people all the time, like, when they start thinking about, man, like I have no hobbies. What's wrong with thinking back and going back to what you did as a kid? Did you like bike riding? Why not bike ride now? Like you loved going to the ice cream parlor. I don't know. I'm dating myself right now, but dating yourself. Another thing, take yourself on self-love dates. Do that. Okay? So I'm gonna, I feel like we're a bit over time. I was gonna try to keep this at an hour, but
it's pretty good for 3 people.
Yeah, I feel like we've covered a lot of base here. My hope is that we have helped at least one person who is dealing with the same things that we ourselves have experienced here, or we know someone that is maybe currently experienced it, going through it, and now we know how to help them. We want to go to them, and sorry, I know we're over time, but let me just say this one thing. If you do have a friend or a family member who could potentially be going through this, be an ear, a non-judgmental, supportive ear for them. Ask them, what do you need from me right now? Don't tell them what they need. Ask them what they need.
It is so hard to find a non-judgmental ear.
Mm-hmm. But you could be that friend.
Be that one. Be that one.
Be that. And, as always, I will put anything we referenced or maybe, used in the podcast today. I'll put that in the comments later. But, I really appreciate all you listeners out there for tuning in tonight and giving us a listen. And again, Hack, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story. And I just, it wasn't just, opening up, to us and sharing what you've gone through, but also I feel like you really offer some really good insight. And, as far as healing and moving forward, thank you. I really appreciate it. That was beautiful.
Well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed being here. It was good to kind of talk about it, and I think that I've processed some more about it tonight through our conversation, and definitely had some realizations about other things and other people in my life, and it's been good. So thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Love it.
Thank you. It was nice to meet you.
Thank you so much, ladies. As always, cuz, thank you. You're beautiful. You're both beautiful, beautiful, beautiful ladies. I appreciate you being here tonight. We are going to sign off now. Everyone out there, please take care of yourselves, okay? Have a good night.
Peace.